Good morning, brothers and sisters, concerts, confrères, comrades. Bonjour, bienvenue au Québec.
Welcome to Quebec.
I got to tell you, wow, was there ever energy in this room? This is the kind of energy that comes from people who are making change. The energy you have, quite frankly, when you're making history. I want to open our convention this morning by talking to you about a vision for change. I want to look to the future and ask, are we ready to do what is necessary? In your kits is our strategic vision document, Action for New Times. Some of what I want to say to you today highlights the information and the perspective that you have in this excellent document. Sisters and brothers, we need change. But let's not kid ourselves. The person who is changing Canada is Stephen Harper. At past conventions, we've warned that if you've got a majority, watch out. There is no point now in saying, I told you so. So, is he changing Canada? Just look in your strategic vision document. The lists are just a fraction of the many important changes that are in one piece of legislation, the 2011 budget bill. Changes to old age pension at 67, quitting the Kyoto Accord, gutting environmental assessment, particularly on pipelines, changing employment insurance, and dozens more of fundamental changes this country. One vote, very little debate, and absolutely no democracy. Is Harper changing Canada? Oh yeah, he is. So, what is the end game that Harper has for us? What is his end game for the country? Well, it's economic, it's political, it's legal, and it's cultural. Now, we had a look inside the warped view of conservatives when Mitt Romney was taped telling billionaires that 47% of Americans don't pay taxes and are freeloaders who want health care and social services. And it's not his job to represent them. Stephen Harper's warped view, I might say very warped view, is that 60% of the Canadians that did not vote for him are freeloaders and are his enemy. We are all political enemies to be isolated and attacked. This is what he's done. NGOs and human rights activists are pro-terrorist, so he'll defund them or close them down. Environmentalists are foreign-funded extremists. Demonize them and attack their credible status. And at the center of the evil empire surrounding the Harper bunker, at the very heart of the 60% that are against them, is us. We, this union, the labor movement, we are the target. Look at the record. 5 federal strike-breaking actions in 18 months. And now, coming before Parliament this fall, a so-called private members' bill called 377. So what is it? It is a bill that attacks unions, a discriminatory law that would single out how unions spend money to represent their members. Every time we hire a lawyer, hire an organizer, consult an actuary, put an ad in the newspaper, rent a bus, go to a demonstration, or anything else, we would have to publish this information for employers and right-wing politicians to use against us. But of course, you don't need this information. We already give it to you. As always, it's in the financial statements that are in the kits to this very convention. They're before you now. Every penny we spent since the last convention is accounted for you. No one else has to do with this. Not employers, not lawyers, not doctors, not engineers, social workers, or anyone else that has tax-deductible dues. Just us. About the same time as 377 will hit Parliament in November, the Wall government will announce changes to labour law in Saskatchewan. They have signaled that a Wisconsin-style right-to-work law may be proposed. Perhaps even the RAND formula, which is at the very heart of union security, will be challenged. And in Ontario, the Conservative opposition is promising similar legislation, similar anti-union legislation, if they form government. Sisters and brothers, this is not random. It's an organized class war. It's an organized class war against us. They intend to attack our movement and to take away our very rights. This has become clear. But there's only one question for us to answer. Will we be ready to defend ourselves in any way that is necessary? Now, I don't want to suggest to you that Harper will win. I don't want to suggest that Harper will win. We are working with the labor movement and with our allies in civil society to grow the 60% to an even larger and bigger majority, and to take Harper down in 2015. We hope to take him down so much that he doesn't even have status as a party. But quite frankly, we don't have the luxury of waiting until then. We have key fights for our members that are before us right now, which are shaping our future right now. Take a look at Bell. In 2 years, they have spent $6 billion, not million, $6 billion buying CTV, Maple Leaf Sports, and Astral. They are the largest telecom company in this country, the largest by far. Now they will control about half of the broadcast industry. This is concentrated economic and cultural power that this country has never seen before. And one has to ask then, how do they wield that power? What do they do with that power? Well, our experience hasn't been very good. Over the 2 consecutive organizing drives at Bell Mobility, and both times we were within a very small percentage point of winning the union. But both times, Bell blocked by their anti-union antics that campaign. So now, today, when we have 112 workers at Bell TV, they organized a union and are trying to get a modest first agreement. Bell locks them out. The fundamental issue here isn't really about money. It's the respect and union recognition for these workers inside Bell's new media empire. Just a few kilometers away in Toronto, our members at some of the contractors who install Rogers cable and telecom services have organized a union as well. And they're trying to get a first collective agreement, and they can't get one either. These members who exclusively work, so that's all they work for, they just work for Rogers, are the face of precarious work in this country. They have no security, no benefits, and piecework starting at $5 for a home installation. And then there's unfair labor practices and scabbing to make sure that these workers cannot get a first collective agreement. And what does Rogers say? Oh, we have no responsibility from that. It's the contractors. Shame on them. We will pass the hat for these deserving members later in the convention, along with the other strikers that we have. And so later on in the convention, be prepared to dig deep in your pockets when we pass the hat for these very, very noble and deserving workers. This is just the beginning for our telecom members. Except for Bell, TELUS, and Rogers, every other telecom company in this country can now be bought 100% by a foreign company. Sisters and brothers, the future is on its way. There is really only one question. Are we ready to organize and defend ourselves in this new world order? Let's look to our members in the forest industry to see what it means when the economics of your industry change fundamentally. We all know what has happened to the forest industry in the last few years. Dozens of mills closed right across the country, and 100,000 permanently lost jobs in just 5 years. In the last 3 years, almost $4 million of our defense fund for CCAA bankruptcy protection, legal and actuarial expenses. Now, not all of it was on the forest industry, but much of it was spent defending our members in the forest industry. Our union had to adapt to new circumstances. In Eastern Canada, we had to negotiate a 2-tiered pattern. One for the CCAA part of the industry, and another for the companies that were not in bankruptcy. We did the same in the West. We had to find the strength and solidarity to say to the industry, there is a bottom, there is a floor, and we will hold our pattern. In the last 3 weeks, there have been 3 locals in BC who took strike votes They took strike votes to hold the pattern. We may very well have a strike or two in the West, but we will hold the pattern. And sisters and brothers, with the current lumber prices as they are now, I expect to see many CEP members going back to work in sawmills and board mills over the next year. Well, in the pulp and paper, let's hope so, eh? It would be a great thing. In the pulp and paper industry, while we are still losing some mills are reopening after being permanently closed for more than 6 years. We have 20 members back to work at Local 1120 in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. The first of many hundreds, that will go back to work there soon. It is so great to see Local 1120 delegates back in the hall at our convention. And I saw Brother Annabelle Bravo here, who was once a member of our board before the mill shut down. He's now seated once again at our convention as a delegate. As we emerge from this gut-wrenching period, and it was a very gut-wrenching period, but we came through it with our union and our pattern intact. And we know that this industry isn't the same as it was 6 years ago. But as I have said many times from this podium, those damn trees just keep on growing. But it's not only the trees that are renewable. The industry is also renewing itself, and it will continue to be the primary economic base for hundreds of communities and millions of Canadians and Quebecers. The future is on its way in the forest industry as well. The question here will be, will we have the strength to hold the line and the vision to rebuild this industry with new products, a new market, and a renewed workforce? Let me now turn to the future in the energy sector. We come to this convention on the eve of what I believe is a decisive struggle, a turning point, a twin fight for sustainability and jobs. Now, I say a twin fight because it has never been clearer how our jobs and sustainability are tied together. When it comes to sustainability, we, our union, have a very important voice in this debate. It is so important that workers in the energy sector speak out on climate change. Do you know that Canada has never, ever met a greenhouse target? We don't even have a target in our country that the world accepts as credible. It's a shame. But we are on track for at least one outcome. The scientists are predicting an ice-free Arctic, so you could sail from the Atlantic right through to the Pacific. On jobs, we're on target as well, but to lose jobs. Our evidence on the Keystone Pipeline was that the export of raw bitumen was at the expense, was at the cost of 17,000 jobs, 17,000 value-added jobs just in Canada alone. If the Northern Gateway is added to that, another pipeline, our calculation now is that 26,000 Canadian jobs that could be exported down the pipeline for upgrading and refining somewhere else. It is shame. We have lost the Oakville refinery and the Montreal Shell refinery. Both not because of Canadian or Quebec demand, but because of the absolute insane export model that our oil industry has imposed on this country. We are exporting Western Canadian resources and importing foreign oil to meet our needs in Eastern Canada. And now, because of yet another export pipeline, we are in danger of losing the last operating refinery in the lower mainland of British Columbia and threatening also our largest Edmonton refinery. So try to get your head around this. Just think about this for a minute. We have members at the Suncor refinery in Edmonton that ship refined products to Vancouver down the existing pipeline owned by Kinder Morgan. Now, down the same pipeline, we send crude oil to the Chevron refinery in Burnaby, where we also have members. Kinder Morgan would rather export the crude, and they have already cut back shipments that Chevron needs. Now, Kinder Morgan wants to double the pipeline so it can export bitumen to where? To China. But this will result in no firm space for the pipeline for Suncor. There will be no guaranteed supply for Chevron. Both must pay a higher price for using what is ever left of that pipeline. So, in order to export bitumen to China, this pipeline will put CEP jobs in Edmonton, at Burnaby, at risk, and as a result, we'll get higher gasoline prices for the whole of the lower mainland of British Columbia. Hard to believe, but it gets worse. Chevron has asked our National Energy Board to be declared a priority destination. And that means so that it will have enough crude oil to operate. Not a big one, just a small priority. An American oil company named Tesoro has now filed a motion with the National Energy Board to stop the whole proceeding on the basis that under NAFTA, Canada cannot give any priority to a Canadian refinery and that everything in that pipeline must be equally available to an American refinery. This is what we have warned about for years. NAFTA energy proportionality. I find this so offensive as a Canadian. It makes my blood boil at the Conservatives who have sold out our national interests. The question here is, The question really here is, are we ready to do what is necessary, as we have in the past 6 years? We will defend our members and the national energy security at the National Energy Board. But it has become obvious that the National Energy Board is part of the problem and not part of the solution. That is why, about a year ago, 50 CEP members wearing green hard hats participated in a demonstration in Ottawa against the Keystone pipelines. Holding hands with my dear friend Maud Barlow and my assistant Fred Wilson, we climbed the fence. Together with more than 100 other brave Canadians, we were all arrested. I believe our act of conscience was very important in spurring the mass movement we have today now against those export pipelines. Next week, there will be another demonstration, this time in Victoria, British Columbia. This time, it's the Gateway Pipeline. It is time again for leadership by example. There will be trade unionists, environmentalists, First Nation leaders. The CEP will be there. I will be proud to be there too, and we will do what is necessary to stop that pipeline. Brothers and sisters, this is a time for leadership. It is so obvious that we need leadership in our movement today. We need leadership that understands that no one union can succeed if the labor movement keeps failing to grow, if we keep losing our economic and political power. And that is why there is one issue above all others, that we will debate at this convention. This, of course, is the new union project. Sisters and brothers, I want to send out a welcome to our sisters and brothers from the Canadian Auto Workers Union who are here with us today. We had a large group of CEP members at the CAW convention in August, and we were all welcomed with respect and friendship, and let's return that solidarity now. Will the members from the CAW Executive Board and other members that are here please stand up? The only thing is, we're cheating a bit. You invited us to Toronto, and we're inviting you to Quebec City. Sorry, Toronto. Brother Ken Loenza and Peter Kennedy and some of the CAW members of the proposal committee arrive later today, and you'll hear from them tomorrow. This debate, the decision that we will make tomorrow, is our time for leadership. It's our time for leadership in the Canadian labor movement. I believe this decision is the future of the Canadian labor movement. I was a proud member of the United Paper Workers International Union. And I remember merging with the pulp sulfite to make an industrial union. I also remember leaving the International to form a Canadian union, the CPU. And I was on the CPU executive board when we decided to form the CEP. It has been a lifetime of struggle and change. But the change we are proposing now is without a doubt the most important thing that we've done in my 40 years in the movement, because we are proposing now the most powerful industrial union, an organizing union, a political union, a Canadian union from coast to coast ever created to serve working-class people in this country. Of course, that is our debate for tomorrow, and as you can tell, no doubt, I am excited about looking forward to that debate. But I also want to take time right now to greet and welcome our comrades from the global trade union movement. Would our international guests from Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Norway, Switzerland, South Africa, Algeria, Senegal, the UK, and the United States, please stand. Obviously, comrades, your presence and participation has become a favorite, important part of our convention for our delegates. And on Tuesday, we'll have a reception for all of us to meet you more informally. And on Wednesday, we're looking forward to hearing you speak to us about your situation and about the global trade union movement. I would like to offer this link between these wonderful comrades and this historic convention. We are all united by a common struggle against global capitalism, a system that works entirely wrong. It delivers austerity, unemployment, inequality, but a system that continues to work as it was designed for the benefit of corporations and of banks. We are united by an international working class movement organized in our global union federations, especially those in uni and industrial law. We are here at a time of change and renewal, not just in Canada, but everywhere. There has been 30 years of neoliberalism, free trade, deregulation, continuous wars. The financial collapse and the Great Recession has not ended for millions of workers, and it has reduced the fire in our labor movement to embers. But our fire is not out. There is a yearning for democracy and collective rights. There is an anger, an indignation. There is mass action globally and in our country. Youth, young workers, youth are taking the lead. There is an interesting trajectory, and it is inspiring. From the Arab Spring to the Spanish Indagnos to Occupy to general strikes and national actions this year in Greece and in Spain and in Chile and in Indonesia and in many other countries. And Quebec is part of that inspiration. Our international guests have come to Quebec to find out firsthand about our own Maple Spring. So what we called it here was the Maple Spring, and how the students of Quebec organized Le Mouvement Carouge, and how they were victorious in protecting affordable education in this province. And how their struggle on education and tuition fees became a social movement about the kind of society we want, with hundreds of thousands of people in the streets saying, a better world is possible. It will be a very special moment later this week when we present our Neil Reimer Award to the Quebec students. The students were ready to do what was necessary. They saw the future. They are the future. Delegates, I see this convention and our new union project as part of the fire that is burning again for democracy and for social change. Because we are reaching out with a message to working people in this country. We are going to build a union for everyone. We are saying to young workers that the union will be your vehicle to improve your standards of living, as it was for your parents. We will not accept that your generation gets less than ours. We are saying to workers outside of the old model, workers without a collective agreement or a union or a certification, workers in precarious employment, freelance workers, contract workers, temporary and part-time workers, and unemployed workers. You can join the labor movement to also have solidarity and power. We are saying to our retirees that you will not be abandoned or left behind. We will fight for your retirement security, and you will be part of our fight. And we are saying to employers, big and small, and to conservative politicians, if you want to pick a fight with us, you attack one of us, you attack all of us. Sisters and brothers, we are ready to do what is necessary, and we are ready to fight. This week, we are building our future. And you are the best convention that this union has ever had. You are our future, and we want to have the greatest convention in the history of this union. Congratulations to all of us.